Welcome once again, everybody, to the No Sell Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 13, and today I'm joined with two of my good wrestling buddies, Bobby the Brain Heenan, as the picture says, the Weasel, Alan the Weasel Heenan, and I normally call him Rebelhausen, but I don't know. Are we off that train, Rebel? Are you still Rebelhausen, or do I call you the Fiend?
I'll be honest with you. I enjoyed the skullduggery at the start of the whole house and stuff, and I'm enjoying actually more his stuff that he does with ESPN. But as far as the wrestling side of things, that train is long and truly gone. The Fiend is here.
Good old Bray Wyatt, yeah. But yeah, so here we are again. Another week in wrestling has passed. We've got obviously Saturday night's main event coming this weekend. It looks so missable, guys. This Saturday night's main event, it looks so missable. Like it's barely even. It's like it's a worse. I think it's a worse version of Raw. There's no big marquee match that I can see on this show this weekend. And then we've got obviously after that, then we've got the Clash in Italy, which at least it does look like they're actually putting on some big matches on that one. If you think about it, there's a couple of WrestleMania rematches. That one looks like they're actually it looks like they're putting effort into that one from the matches. It looks like we're going to get. So we'll talk about that and then we'll go over Raw. And if you guys want to talk about SmackDown, do any of us even bother watching SmackDown anymore?
I haven't seen SmackDown in a couple of weeks.
No. Right. So who wants to start? You know what? I'm going to start something. You know what I did last night? I was bored last night. If people don't know about the WWE Vault channel on YouTube, basically it's replaced what the network used to be. It's nowhere near as good as a network, but every now and again they release archive footage. Everybody knows that I was a big WCW fan in the mid to late 90s before it went all tits up. And I sat and watched 3 hours last night as I was kind of in and out of consciousness. Kind of you're tired, you're falling asleep, you kind of wake up, you fall back asleep. I watched the whole NWO storyline for the first 6 months. So right when Hall and Nash, Hall initially comes out on Nitro. I think it's like May 96. And pretty much, I think the last thing I saw was the Piper Hogan. By the way, Piper Hogan match is dreadful. The Piper Hogan match. And you know what? It's so good. It's so good compared to, and you know what it is? It's just it's the illusion, and that's the key word. It's the illusion of chaos. It's the illusion of chaos because the NWO brought a chaos to them and an excitement for a wrestling show. And I find myself, and I look at wrestling nowadays, for the most part, it's boring, it's predictable, it's dull. There's no real cliffhangers anymore from episode to episode. There's no reason to stay tuned in. There's no reason to pay attention. It's so mundane and boring. Is it an age thing with me? Is it nostalgia? Or do you guys feel the same way? I know, Alan, I know you grew up watching the same time frame. Rebel, I think you came a little bit after, but did you see the NWO stuff? Am I talking out of my backside, or is it just an age thing?
I remember seeing the NWO stuff, and that was lightning in a bottle. That's the only way to describe it. Because obviously they tried to recapture it once WCW folded and the NWO appeared at the No Way Out event in 2002, and it was never the same. It was never. They couldn't recapture what happened some years before on Monday Night Nitro. I say Monday Night Raw then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was chaotic. It was great. It was fantastic. It was great television. I mean, granted, every main event on Nitro ended the same way, ended in a DQ. That really annoyed me.
It had issues. It wasn't perfect. No. You're right. Every main event was a DQ and NWO interference. You're right, and that did get boring. The first 6 months, I think it was okay, and then you got repetitive like anything. But I don't know, dude. Like I said, I was watching it, and I just thought, you know what, this is exciting, and it's unpredictable, and it's chaotic. And I just think that if you're going to keep people glued to a TV screen, especially for 3 hours every week, you have got to have an element of excitement and unpredictability. And one thing I will give Vince Russo credit, and I don't give him credit for much, he was good at chaos.
Yeah,
he needed a filter without Vinnie Mac to filter him. You saw what he did in WCW, but they've become so pedestrian. They've become they're so safe They're so safe. It's boring. That's what I think. Rebel, any thoughts on it?
Yeah. I'm going to take it a step further. Back when I started watching it, you had polarizing characters. You had the Kanes, the Undertakers, the Steve Austins, the Rocks, the Triple H's, the Road Dogs, the HBKs. There was a lot of very unique, very interesting characters, and they had a lot of things going on where they could match them up in different situations. You had your Mark Henrys, your Big Shows, and then obviously you had the end of your Bam Bam Bigelows and all these other characters that they developed through the 80s. And you would think on paper now, because they've given the women's division status that is the same as the men's division, that it should be easier for it to have these unique, interesting characters in place. That, when the men's one is kind of boiling off, all right, who's coming up in the women's? What have we got? What are we doing here, lads? Oh, we've got Becky, we've got Alexa, we've got Charlotte. We're going to get them going in a big fight with, I don't know, pick up 3 more women and War Games. And then you bury War Games for about 2 years and you build it back up. But instead, it's flaccid, it's repetitive, and it's uninteresting. And I think they've lost the key thing to wrestling, and that is the art of storytelling. Like, I'm all for watching the cool stuff in the ring. Like, I give AEW their props. Some of their in-ring stuff is absolutely insane and absolutely brilliant to watch. But we like to be told a story. We're expected to suspend the belief when we watch this product. And in essence, we sit there and we act like we're teenagers again, because we pretend we know nothing about the outside world, and all this is normal and all this is believable. And the amount of times they tease and tell us, oh, we're going to have this big extravaganza, and it just falls flat like a liquid shit into the toilet. It just doesn't capture the imagination. And maybe, Tequila, you're onto something. Maybe we are just getting too old to kind of seep into this. But I have to compare this to other things that we would watch, aka TV series about cop shows or whatever, movies where you have your Star Wars, your Star Trek. And we as adults know that none of this shit is real when we watch some of these movies. Obviously, there's some movies that are based on true events and they're a different genre altogether. But, we accept that there isn't going to be a 4-headed pink alien with 5 dongs and boobies and expect that we're going to say that that's real. But for the purpose of that movie, we're going to accept that premise. And I don't know what has happened, but WWE can't build a tag team. They can't build a faction, and they can't maintain interesting storyline where they can have other people involved in the main belts. It's either boring Reigns, or must finish me story Rhodes, or some other nonsense. And they have not replaced or got people to step up to fill the shoes of your Randy Ortons and other people like AJ Styles. And I think even some of the events that we saw on Monday night you'll be bringing to the table later, Tequila, kind of state how lacking they are in star power that they had to do what they did on Monday night.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with most of what you said. Again, the words safe. I think of safe. I think of a lack of edge. I'm just thinking to myself, obviously, it's not our generation really anymore. But I'm just thinking about if I'm a teenager, right? If I'm meant to be their target audience, right? If I'm like 12, 13, right? I'm early teenage years. Is Monday Night Raw cool? Is that cool? Is Raw, because Nitro was cool. The NWO were cool. What's cool? Is it the Bloodline? Is the Bloodline meant to be what's cool? This is what I mean. I don't know what characters in wrestling nowadays are meant to be cool, because obviously I'm out of we probably all are. We're all out of the target audience. But I just, like I say, I watched Nitro. Do you know how bloody cool Scott Hall was? Do you know how cool Scott Hall was?
Oh, he's great.
Every I tell you what, every bloke, every kid, right, young kid wanted to be Scott Hall, and Nash to a little bit less than Nash because Nash was kind of so tall and kind of was kind of a giant, but Scott Hall was so bloody cool. Scott Hall was so cool. Hogan not so much, but Hall and Nash especially, those two were so cool. And I just think I'm trying to put myself in like I say, a 13, 14-year-old kid, and I look at the wrestling characters. Who's cool? Jey Uso, the Yeet stuff. Is LA Knight because he goes yeah. I mean that's all he ever does anymore. You say yeah. He doesn't barely cuts promos anymore. He just says his catchphrase and that's it. I just don't know what's cool. So I don't know who, Obafemi. Is that cool?
Or Penta.
I suppose Penta, at least Penta looks a bit cool, I suppose, with his get up. I don't know. Like I say, maybe it's an age thing, guys. Anyway, that's my little rant on the NWO because I watched it last night. I just thought to myself, there's nothing like this going on in wrestling and hasn't been for years. And this is what I think it's missing. It's missing danger. It's missing excitement. It's missing unpredictability. I don't know how.
As I say, sorry, that's what happens when a corporation takes over.
Well, yeah. I mean, society, today's world plays its part because everything's gone PC crazy. You got to remember, guys, this was the mid to late 90s, and it was a different world. What you could do on television, for a large part, you can't do anymore. We all know that with the kind of comedies. Me and Alan spoke loads of times about certain comedies that could never be allowed, certain films they could never allow to be made nowadays.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. Yeah, there's certain things like what Richard Pryor did that you wouldn't be allowed to do now.
Oh God, no.
No.
What a funny man he was.
Yeah, so maybe that's and maybe that is a part of it. Maybe they are handcuffed in a way because they're not allowed to put the stuff they want to put on television. Maybe that does play a role. Maybe they can't do the dangerous stuff they once could. Maybe that's true.
But
anyway,
I thought this to you before you move on to actual Monday Night Raw.
Yeah,
you were sold the premise that the PG era was over once they went off main cable television in the US of A and went to Netflix.
Yep.
That has been a river of lies because it's very much still PG'd up, and they're clearly now following the TKO blueprint of bastardizing the product out to Saudi where the crowd is absolutely shit. Pardon my French.
Okay. We agree. Okay, Raw. Rather than going from it kind of like right from start to finish, because I think all of us I've watched the highlights. I don't think any of us have sat through all of it. I could be wrong, Rebel. I know me and Alan didn't.
No.
We sat through all of it. So what did we take from it then? What was some standout stuff? I mean, I'll talk about not the main event because actually it was happening. I'll talk about the Roman Reigns stuff because I've got a bit more to say on him. But that aside, I'll leave that for now. What do we think of other stuff? For example, we can talk about Lesnar. We'll get to that. I wanted to talk about a little bit quickly Sol Ruka. And I don't see... Look, she's obviously an incredible athlete. I would say she's an incredible gymnast. I'm not saying they're not athletes, but I would say she's more... I think of her as she's an incredible gymnast, right? I've discussed the finisher. I think that finisher long-term, she's going to have to come up with something else alongside it, I think. Personally, I think she's going to have to come up with something else to work with. But she's getting a title match against Becky Lynch.
No, it's not.
Is it not a title match?
No, Becky shut her down because Sol Ruka was like, and I'll take that title. Or I snatched that title, I think is the term she used. And Becky's like, no, you don't get that. You don't get shot. She's done nothing. So it
is non-title then?
It's a non-title match, yeah.
Okay, I won't say that because that was something that I was like, she ain't won a match. The wins and losses not matter in even a little bit anymore. Okay, I won't say that then. I'll take that part back. What about the booking of her though, guys? She's come in as this lovable loser. She's fine losing. She's happy that she's not winning.
Well, like again, I think we're drawing this comparison a lot with a lot of the talent that has come up from NXT. They had good story build, And like Sol Ruka had her wins and her losses. Obafemi had his wins and his losses, but they built the story to where they were put into title positions. I believe actually it is a title match on main event. Just looking it up here between Becky Lynch and Sol Ruka, but maybe something else happened afterwards. But according to some of the notes that I have here, the title is on the line, and this is where I have a problem with Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. She's after coming in. She's in there a wet week. She's barely got her feet wet in the pool, and they're putting her up against one of the top women over the last decade and expecting us to believe that this new upstart can beat Becky Lynch. Now, I have my own problems with the Intercontinental belt and the mid-card belts in the women's division because I think they did absolutely nothing to give them any substance or any credence where we actually care about them. The only reason we're even talking about the Intercontinental Women's Belt is because Becky's holding it. And the only reason she's holding it is probably because they needed to give her something to do until they could put her back in for the main strap again, because she's had it too recently. Sol Ruka, as you said, very gifted athlete. Decent storyteller in the ring when she gets everything right. But I just have to question this whole idea of putting her up against one of the top women in all of WWE at the moment. It just doesn't seem like they built her enough to the point where you're kind of going, okay, she's gone through X, Y, and Z to get there, and now Becky's trying to try and put her in her place, and you'd expect obviously the obvious loss to ensue for Sol Ruka eventually, but they just haven't done that. They've just kind of been lazy and just throwing her in there. And I suppose it's part of why we don't really care about Saturday Night's main event. It's a kind of a glorified house show.
Alan, do you agree with Rebel? I mean, Sol Ruka, I mean, what are your opinions on her and her booking? I mean, it's still early days, but still, I don't know. She just lost and lost. It's a weird way to debut somebody.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's like any NXT call up. She's just basically the latest toy for Trips to use. He's not using it particularly well because I don't know how he's booking her. He's booking it. She's lost against Io Sky. She's lost against. My head's gone blank. My head is actually gone blank.
She's lost a couple of. She's lost two or three, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's lost at least two. I mean, granted, she's lost to former world champions. But that's the saving grace. I mean, that's the thing I had with Ricky Saints losing to Cody Rhodes a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown. He lost to a world champion. That might not hit him so hard.
They jumped to back up your point, Alan, as well about what you said. They jobbed out Royce Keys to Gunter.
Yes, right. Yeah, he got. Well, it's a distraction by Solo, but yeah, he was basically folded like a cheap card table.
It's early losses for their NXT call up. Ricky Saints lost his first match. Sol Ruka's lost all her matches. Royce Keys has lost. I mean, he won the Andre Giant Battle Royal, if anyone cares about that. And I think this is his first loss. And yes, you're right. It is to Gunter, but still. Yeah.
He lost to former world champion, and it's basically ever since Royce Keys' first proper challenge, he hasn't really faced anyone really major, has he?
Well, that's why. I mean, look, we all know that gone are the days where there's no such thing as enhancement matches anymore. That's what they used to be called, enhancement matches. There's no such thing. So gone are the days where you're going to see such and such wrestle against jobbers for 2 months before they have a proper match. And I think maybe that's the problem. It's just like I'm still got that mindset. I can't help it. It's what I grew up with, where I don't expect somebody debuts to come in and lose so fast. I'm not. You need to. They need to win X amount of times to get them familiar to the crowd, and then you start building in losses, and you can start telling stories. Me and Rebel had this conversation about Obafemi and my concerns over Oba, and this is I'm actually quite. We'll get to it in a sec about Brock. I'm quite happy to a certain degree that he did leave Obafemi lane, because Femi is now at the point where I think he's now going to have to start showing a little bit of vulnerability because he's been so dominant. But that's such a flip to guys like Ricky Saints and to Sol Ruka, who haven't showed any kind of dominance. They've came in and just lost. Yeah, and it's a little bit backwards. I mean, Chevron Evans, I suppose, has been a bit of a mixed bag. I wouldn't say they've jobbed him out. He's lost a couple, but he's won a couple, so he's doing okay in that way. I just think that you've got to build them up a little bit for a little bit of time, and then you start having the 50-50 booking. It just seems like with Ricky Saints, and I think Roy Keane. I mean, did they need to have him wrestle Gunter so early? Did they need to have that match against Gunter so early? Did that have to happen?
No, I don't think so. But I guess they're trying to set up because obviously it's Gunter versus Cody.
Yeah, they're trying to do
in Italy, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously it's to build for a Solo Sikoa Royce Keys feud. I'm not sure who asked for that, by the way, but that obviously looks like that's going to happen. So I assume he'll probably win that feud. I would think he will probably beat Solo Sikoa, but
yeah, I think so. Solo hasn't really won a feud. Well, okay, beat the White Six, but that's only because the White Six were on the way out.
Can I throw this premise out there? Can I throw this premise out there to you? And obviously, when we had those old bills, NXT wasn't a real brand. It was just a I'm completely stumbling there, but they had them in kind of I can't say it. I can't say it. I'm fumbling. I've absolutely botched this promo, but anyway, but like we're to believe that these have gone through the rigors and had their stripes kind of earned in NXT, but they clearly still treat so-called stars that they get in from somewhere like an AEW or other places differently to call-ups, because I suppose they kind of have to treat them a bit differently because they're not going to get away with, a former main eventer in another promotion coming in and getting jobbed or put in lower mid-card areas, are they?
No, they still are. They still have to kind of get their stamp on you, don't they? Vince McMahon always was terrible at this. It's like if he never used the famous line that people used to say is like Jim Ross, Jim Cornette, people who used to work there, all said Vince McMahon doesn't care. I think Jericho said it as well. Vince McMahon didn't care at all what you did outside of the WWF. So even if you were a multiple-time world champion in other federations, once you came in, you started at ground zero. And there is exceptions to that rule. Ric Flair, for example, when he came in 91, he went right to Alan. He won the world title at the Royal Rumble about 4 months after he debuted.
Yeah, pretty much.
In the 92 Rumble. So Flair's the exception to the rule, but most of the time that is how they were treated. But yeah. Okay. So that's Sol Ruka. Let's talk about Lesnar.
Before you do, can we just briefly mention JD and Bowler? They actually had an absolutely cracking match. And I'll be honest with you, I was actually disappointed to see Dominic Mysterio out there. I know the ultimate fuse is Bowler and Mysterio, but like,
don't you think aren't you? Look, I know you're a big Balor fan. You're the biggest Balor fan of us three. I know you are. Aren't you a little bit disheartened to see him still doing the Judgment Day stuff?
I want him out of there. I want him to leave WWE at this point. I think they've absolutely destroyed him. Like, when he was over in Japan, he was a god in the Bullet Club. In NXT, he was the prince. He was absolutely one of the top guys. And I think this one obviously is on Vincey, because after he got injured when he took the first, what did they call it that time?
Undisputed title, yeah.
Was it the Undisputed title, or was it the Mickey Uppy one that they had for the other brand? Can't remember which.
Universal.
Was it the Universal title?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. Balor was the first Universal champion, wasn't he?
Yeah, he done his knee, and obviously then Vince just went, nah. And we still got relatively decent stuff with him, and I've been disappointed that they made the Demon take 2 losses to both Roman and whoever the other one was. But
it was Edge.
It was Edge, yeah. Like, I was kind of disappointed that they kind of destroyed his one unique factor. But the fact now that we're basically dealing with it's only Finn Balor on a week in, week out basis, and then he goes supernova whenever he puts on the demon thing. That just doesn't do enough for me. And for Finn's sake, whether it's over to TNA or maybe down to Taker to save him in AAA, he needs to get out of there.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like that they. I mean, I was a little. I thought to myself, if they want to rebuild Balor, that they after WrestleMania they could have done, but to see him, for me anyway, this says to me they have no real plan. They're not going to elevate him to the main event again. He's gonna stay exactly where he is. He'll be a mid card, maybe upper mid card max. He ain't ever going to be a world champion again. And as the years, well, he's not old. I mean, but he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's probably coming nearer to the end of his career now. So he's going to start being asked to paving the way for others, which means putting guys over. So
I suppose the one thing that could make it likely that AAA is a reasonable option is that his wife's Mexican.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. He needs something, and I thought the face turn and everything like that would be an opportune time to try to rebuild him if they wanted to, but it doesn't look like they want to. It looks like they just don't see him that way. They don't see him that way. Vince McMahon obviously didn't. After he got injured, he lost faith in him. But Triple H, surprisingly, doesn't seem to see him that way either. Because under Triple H's reign, again, he's done very little. He's been stuck in the Judgment Day more or less the entire time Triple H has been in charge. He's more or less been stuck with the Judgment Day, either with the group or now feuding with them.
But the disappointing thing about that, Tequila, is they actually brought him down to NXT to try and rebuild him. Do you remember after that incident with the Universal title? And Hunter made him into the killer that he once was. But now doesn't seem to have any inkling to try and completely remove him from the whole Judgment Day farce. Like, as you said, after that Dom match, move him straight to SmackDown or away from the rest of the Judgment Day should have been the call.
They could have moved him to SmackDown, and they could have positioned him as the number 2 babyface behind Cody. They could have positioned him as a number 2 babyface behind Cody. They easily could have done that, but okay. So Brock Lesnar not retired, apparently. Not retired. His retirement lasted all of 3 weeks. And it looks like he's going to continue the feud over Femi. I'd imagine there's probably going to be another 2 matches because I've got to assume, just by they might not. I think Lesnar's winning this one. I think it's going to go to 3 matches. I'm not sure when the 3rd match is going to take place. Maybe it could be a SummerSlam thing if they want to drag it on that long. But I think Lesnar wins this one. I can imagine it not being fairly. Lesnar might have to do a dirty deed or something. But I think Lesnar has to win it. If they're going to have an extended feud now, Lesnar's got to win something. Thing is, will they have Oba take a pinfall so fast? I'm not sure.
No, hopefully. I mean, it's to Brock at the end of the day. You know, losing to Brock is no. You know.
Yeah, but Alan, they're really protective over Femi. You can already tell. There's no way he's not world champion within 2 years. It could be shorter than that, 12 months.
Oh,
next WrestleMania, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the belt. No, it's not what I want, but you can see the patterns. You can see the patterns already. But are they willing to? I think they should because I want to see more vulnerability.
Yeah,
I want to see more. But I don't know. Rebel, what did you make of it? I know you weren't very happy, were you?
I don't mind a second Brock versus Oba. If we hadn't witnessed what we did at Mania, and I'll come back to that now shortly. There's no reason why there couldn't have been a Rocky trilogy where you had 1-on-1 and then, as you said, the last one then Hell in a Cell inside and in SummerSlam or something along, you know, those lines where you have an extra special big build-up match after they split the previous 2. Like, I think that would have been fine. I think, you know, you could have put story around it. You could have involved Heyman to an extent, getting whispering sweet nothings maybe in Oba's ears, where Oba was considering it. And then obviously, you know, it was all fool's gold that he was offering him, and Brock kind of caught him with his trousers down. Like, you could have done so much clever stuff there. My problem is this. I like the fact that the one segment in the whole of wrestling where fans and the wrestler could kind of connect on a real level was with the retirement stuff, because you weren't saying goodbye to the character. The character was already after leaving the ring prior to the point where they were taking off their boots, their gloves, or whatever they were doing. You were dealing with the person behind the character. And it was the crowd's opportunity to thank them with their reaction, to for the wrestler to have their moment to say goodbye to the crowd, and then walk off into the sunset. That has now been taken from fans. I know you're going to say, but Rebel, this is not the first time that they've done this. Taker came back after he put his gloves in the ring, etc., etc. But now, because of the way they've done this, we can never, ever again take at face value when somebody takes off their boots in the ring and kind of go, oh, Mark's gone, Sheila's gone, Mary's gone, whoever it is. Because WWE are going, and probably more than likely TKO, are going to have some sort of a rod up their keister if it wasn't the way that they wanted it done, and they're going to cause crap. That means that person has to come back. Alan kind of suggested to me that maybe Brock was under duress to, I suppose, honour his contract. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Neither me, Alan, or Tequila know whether that is the case. But the sanctity of a retirement moment between the crowd and their wrestler, whether they booed him out of the building week in, week out because he was a heel or she, whether they cheered them week in, week out because they were face, that is now well and truly dead, and wrestling's all the sadder for that.
I agree.
Yeah, I think they certainly called an audible. I think that most likely when Lesnar did that, assuming that he got permission, and there's conflicting reports that apparently he kind of did it off script because Brock's kind of got that freedom because it's Brock Lesnar. I don't know if I believe that or not. I don't know. We'll probably never know. The only people probably who knows is Brock Lesnar. But I don't believe for a second that when he was leaving that he thought, oh, I'm going to be attacking him in 3 weeks. So I think at some point an audible was called. It could be that Alan's right. Maybe TKO put pressure on him. So, look, no, you still got X amount of dates on your contract, and you might want to go, but you owe us these dates, such and such. That could be what it is. It could be maybe Brock Lesnar himself maybe did have a change of heart. Maybe he actually did. Maybe he was thinking to himself he was done, and then was talked back into it. And it could be just money. It could be Brock Lesnar's always chased the money because he's never, despite him being a very good wrestler, Brock Lesnar's passion has never been pro wrestling. That's why he left when he did in 2004, the first time. He's never loved pro wrestling. It's a job to him. So he's always he's gone where the money is. So if TKO threw him a bunch of cash and said, "Hey mate, we ain't ready. We need you to do some more, to work with Oba again to get him even higher up because they're going to be all in with him." Maybe they just threw a couple more million on that contract and he went, "Yeah, all right." But the thing that I'm not concerned about, but the thing is about Obafemi, it's like if they are going to fast track him, right? What other monsters can he slay? Like, where does he go after Brock? So they've tried doing this open challenge, and I think the open challenge wasn't working. In my opinion, I think the open challenge, there's been too many open challenges, guys. They've got these US title open challenges all over SmackDown last year. So the Obafemi open challenge, I was like, I don't think this is good. We watched him destroy, what's that tag team he destroyed last week?
Oh, Los Gaza.
Yeah.
Gaza's, whatever they're called.
Los Gaza, yeah.
I mean, ridiculous booking considering they've got no tag teams, right? But they couldn't do that every week. So this is why I think that I agree with Alan. They've pushed the panic button. I think they've just thrown some more zeros in front of Brock and just said, yeah, mate, we got nothing else for Obafemi to do. We can't give him a title shot just yet because Roman's got to do his thing, of course, right? So Roman needs to have his year-long reign, and it won't surprise me if he does hold the belt till next WrestleMania, and then drops it to Obafemi. I can easily see that. So maybe it's like, well, we got to come up with a year's worth of storylines now for Obafemi. We can't have him do an open challenge for another year. Who else is he going to work with? We've made him so strong that means we can only really book him against other monsters. Well, what other monsters are there?
Drew McIntyre, the Samoan werewolf, the other Samoan with his B-Tech bloodline, Roman Reigns, Royce Keys. Like, obviously, you're not going to throw in Roman for a long time, but like, there's other big men like Royce Keys who are just coming in. You could do a program there where they have a kind of a fairly intense fight. You got Drew when he comes back from his filming. You got the Samoan werewolf. Like, there's plenty of bodies there that could get you through 6 or 8 months worth of programming if you do it right.
I agree with you with Drew. I agree with you with Drew because Drew has got enough clout, I suppose, because, even though he did, he took a high profile loss at WrestleMania, but he still was world champion less than 3 or 4 months ago, right? So there is something there. I agree with you with Drew, but of Royce Keys and people like that, or the Samoan dude, it's like they haven't got enough rep to be considered a threat. He's just destroyed Brock Lesnar.
True.
So whoever you've got next for him has to be somebody of clout, because otherwise it's a massive, massive downgrade. This was always my issue with throwing him to the top so fast, because it was always going to be almost like a downwards trajectory from there. They did a similar thing with Braun Strowman. One of Braun Strowman's first feuds was with Roman Reigns, and then he failed to beat Roman Reigns in the end. He never took the title off him anyway. And then Strowman kind of floundered for ages. Eventually, he won the title, but he never got back to those heights, if that's the word to even use with Braun Strowman, that he did with his feud with Roman, because they pushed him to the top guy right away, and then the trajectory was always going to be downhill. This is my fear with Obafemi, because they've given him the biggest beast that he can slay. He's already slayed him. So where does the Dragon Slayer go from there when he's already slayed the biggest dragon?
Well, as you said, Drew probably fits in that there's enough there. Gunther probably would fit, but then that leaves them with a conundrum of who do they cause to lose. You could have him do a program with Cody, but nobody's going to believe that Cody's going to beat him.
No. That's why I think they brought Brock back. I think it's just like we don't have anyone immediately. Maybe Drew down the line when Drew finishes his filming. Maybe that is something they can do. Maybe that will be his next program. But it's like, okay, so we need to extend the Lesnar thing, because there's nobody we've got who's in the same status of Brock Lesnar that we want to feed to Obafemi right now. Either they're too busy doing other things, like Roman's doing his world title reign, stuff like that. They've got no one else. They've probably had to say, Brock, we need to extend this thing out till SummerSlam. So we need to do a free match program or something.
Do you know, Alan, I'm going to throw a name out to you. Obviously, if he's fit, KO and Sheamus, would they be two that you could realistically say are opponents of sufficient clout?
Sheamus probably about 10 years ago, sure.
Not now?
No, not now. Not now.
It's not really about the talent. It's about his status. So Sheamus,
yeah,
because I mean he's almost become almost part-time. Sheamus, he kind of comes and goes a lot. Does Sheamus, but Sheamus has not been a world title contender for many years. He's been kind of going after the IC belt, and he hasn't managed to win that. So if you look at his actual status, kayfabe status, you would say that he's nowhere near as much of a threat as a Brock Lesnar would be. Nowhere near. But based on his recent status, he's not been competing for world titles. He's not been a main eventer for many years now. So he's kind of a mid carder. I wouldn't say he's a low carder, but I'd say he's in the middle of the card. So if they had Sheamus versus Obafemi, Rebel, with Obafemi's booking, don't you think Obafemi would just beat him in about a minute?
It probably would have to be a squash. I suppose I'm kind of thinking of the Sheamus that was kind of putting people over for the last 2 and 3 years and doing a good job making them look good. But as you said, when you're building a monster, and like obviously Sheamus is in pre-retirement, I'd imagine he's more interested in doing his workouts and his kind of side gigs with WWE now than actually performing. And for a man of his age, that's fair enough. Like he's had his time in the ring, but as you said, there's limited options. KO probably is one when he comes back, but who knows when he's going to be back.
I said it before, guys, with the Obafemi push. I said to you, I remember Goldberg. And I remember Goldberg right, he got pushed to the moon really fast. He beat Hogan for the belt, and he never came close to anything else since. He beat Hogan for the belt, right? That was his big win, and then it was all downhill from there. He never, ever, at least in WCW, you can make an argument for sort of maybe a bit of his WE career, but WCW, when he was in his prime, he went up like a mountain and then came crashing down nearly as fast. So if Obafemi wants to have this long career, this is why I'm saying I don't know if giving him Brock is his first big feud. I think that could come back to be a massive negative for the longevity of Obafemi. That's all I'm saying. We'll see, but I get Goldberg. I think of Goldberg a lot with what I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm gonna give me 2 minutes to have my Roman Reigns rant because I am gonna get it out. So the start of the show, the big dog starts the show. Doesn't have his world title. Apparently, he doesn't carry his world title. He only gets his world title when he comes to an entrance. That's not a very babyface heroic thing to do, but that's what he does. He then hears Jacob Fatu cutting a promo. Jacob Fatu's cutting a promo on him. Jacob Fatu's giving this kind of anti-hero vibe. I don't know about you guys. I get this vibe. When Jacob Fatu starts talking about being in prison, how hard his life was, talking about how Roman is the chosen one. Again, this is a babyface type thing he's saying. This is an anti-hero Steve Austin type kind of character. And then the Usos come out and then attack him. And then they tie up Jacob Fatu in the ropes. Reigns is out there. And then all three of them, the three baby faces, tie up the heel in the ropes and then punch him while the heel is stuck there. The three baby faces do this. They then beat him down and leave. Reigns then says to Adam Priest, now you can fire him. I'm done with him. What a baby face, what a hero. Then, as they're leaving, Jacob Fatu, showing resiliency and more babyface traits, says Roman tribal combat. Who's the heel and who's the babyface? Because I don't remember Steve Austin ever needing help to beat people up.
True.
Right, so Roman Reigns is playing this cowardly, cheating because he cheated to beat Jacob Fatu. He is the worst babyface because he's meant to be a babyface. If he's meant to be a heel, then he's doing fine. But he's meant to be the babyface. He is the worst babyface I have seen in ages. And Jacob Fatu is the babyface. So much so that if you listen to the crowd, yes, there's the sheep who will cheer anything Roman does because they're trained to. But if you listen to the crowd, you're starting to hear Fatu chants because Fatu is the babyface. He is the anti-authority babyface who is fighting by himself. He's this dangerous son of a bitch. He is, but he's against the odds. It's babyface traits. It's a babyface story. Jacob Fatu is the babyface in this feud. It makes no sense to me. The booking, I cannot. It's so backwards. This storyline is so backwards to me. And I'm asking you guys as veteran wrestling fans to make it make sense to me.
I can't, because I think you said is absolutely true.
Rebel, am I wrong?
Yeah, as you said, it kind of goes back to what I was saying at the start with the lack of conceptual awareness by those running the product to actually identify what makes things tick. And I mentioned it specifically with regards to tag teams and factions. The same is going now with your heel / babyface blurring of the waters. There's always going to be a few that will be allowed to skate through the middle. Like Orton has done it for years where he's been a kind of a heel babyface. Punk can do it to an extent because he's seeing bloody Punk. But it just does not make sense in storytelling. Like, if you want Roman Reigns to be a heel, make him a goddamn heel. And let that be the end of it. But I think the problem was the premise that they built at the start of the Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns situation was they were both bloody baby faces. And now neither of them knows who should be taking the heel actions. And it looks like they're trying to assert the old bloodline kind of methodology of Jay and Jimmy get him, and Roman finishes the job when Jay and Jimmy get in trouble. But it does not make sense. You're 100% correct, and you need to give him more sauce on this one, tequila.
It is the basics of storytelling, right? The basics of storytelling in any story, films, whatever the story is, books, whatever your medium is, right? The good guys is normally the one who's outnumbered. The only exception to the rule is if, like, Andre the Giant, right? Someone like that, someone like Andre the Giant, who's so physically demanding that it takes 6 dudes to beat him up. And then sometimes on the Giant character, the Big Show used to be like this as well, less effective because it was a bloody Big Show, right? But normally 9 times out of 10, the baby face is normally the ones who outnumbered, and he's fighting 3 guys. That alone is backwards storytelling. If Roman Reigns wants to be a babyface, the Usos should not be there. If you want to make it 1-on-1, then fine. But the Usos shouldn't be a part of this. If you want to be a babyface, Roman, why are you in a faction with 3 guys and they're your muscle? You need their help, do you? That's not heroic. You need their help, do you?
Yep, CM was up the whole time.
Well, it's and this is coming off the match where he cheated to beat Jacob Fatu. So he acts like a heel. So half of it is on him, half of it is on the booking. So I don't know if it's all Reigns. We know that Reigns probably has a lot of stroke, right? He probably gets to say a lot of what happens. But obviously the creative team must also think that this is good stuff. And I find that baffling because Triple H does know what a babyface is. He does know what a heel is. He does. He's proved it many a time to me, especially in NXT. So I don't understand why he's okay with this. I imagine that it must be Reigns. It must be Reigns saying, I want my family involved. I want to put the bloodline back together. I want my family involved, but doesn't want to be a heel because he should be a heel because the storyline is that he is a patriarch. Really, that's what he is. He abolishes people. He's arrogant. He talks down to people. He controls his cousins, and you even had LA Knight, right, who's a babyface. On this week's Raw, you saw him going up to the Usos backstage saying, why are you taking orders from Roman again? Why have you gone back to being this way again? What's going on? Why are you like this again? And the Usos didn't have anything to say because everything LA Knight said was right. And LA Knight, at least at the minute, maybe this is going to be a heel turn for LA Knight. Again, that will make no sense because he's saying the truth. But LA Knight, who's a babyface, is calling out the Usos saying, what are you doing? Just like CM Punk, who was also a babyface, also called out the Usos and said, what are you doing? Why are you taking orders from him? So all these babyfaces are all saying the same things. It's backwards storytelling to me, guys. I'm sorry. And as a veteran fan of wrestling, it's backwards storytelling. I don't know why it's persisting. And unless Jacob Fatu comes out of this as a massive babyface, right, which I think could happen because I think the more this goes on, the more Jacob is going to get cheered. It might not have enough legs in it because if this is going to be the second and last match, which it looks like it's going to be with the stipulation, right? I imagine this is probably the last match of the feud, and it's going to be Roman winning. We all know that. So it probably won't happen. But if they continue going down this trajectory, then Jacob Fatu will becoming the babyface because I think the fans will. Once they get over it's Roman Reigns, if they really stop to look at it and look at the story, and some of them have started, they will also realize that Jacob Fatu is the good guy in this. He is. Fans like somebody who can represent them. That's why Daniel Bryan was such a beloved babyface during his peak, because he was the everyman. People could relate to him. Steve Austin, the biggest babyface of the modern era. Much bigger than John Cena, for the record, in case anyone starts, right? It's not close. Why do people relate to him? Because he used to beat up his boss. He was a redneck who liked beer. It was stuff that they could relate to. They could live vicariously through him. Jacob Fatu, once he started talking about hard times, when he started talking about being in jail, a lot of people, especially a lot of kids, are going to be like, yeah, man, that could be me. I've struggled. I had bad stuff happen to me as well. I came from a rough neighborhood as well. Not Golden Boy Roman Reigns and his 2 cousins when it's 3-on-1. This is all backwards. That's it. That's
Yeah, it's true. It's still true.
I agree with you as well. Yeah, no, like Jacob Fatu is relatable. He has the backstory. He has all the hard times he went through, and he's not ashamed to draw on what happened to him really in life to backfill his character storyline. And as you say, you can kind of go, okay, I can get behind this guy, and he has got a great move set. He's got charisma. No, he needs to tone back the "you know what I mean" all gas no brake stuff. But
yeah.
generally speaking, he's an interesting guy and someone that has a bit of depth in his character. We've had this point said many times, Tequila. He shouldn't be a face; he should always be a heel. But that's a different issue. Whereas, as you said, the tribal chief, he was kind of the least interesting of the Shield. Let's call a spade when he was there.
Yep.
He wasn't too bad as the big dog, but generally speaking, his stick has been overplayed and overran.
I just think some people have the right roles and are cast in the right ways. The people always said the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I'm going back here. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat could never be a heel because he was too good at being a babyface. I'll get to that very strange comment, but I love the fact somebody's put in Ronnie Garvin. Hands of Stone, Ronnie Garvin. Did you enjoy him winning the world title from Ric Flair at the Starrcade? I think it was 88. Wow. Or maybe 87. But yeah, my point is, Rebel, is that some people I think are just... Roman Reigns has proved to me that he can be a good heel. I think he's always been a terrible babyface. I think he can be a good heel. So why miscast him? Why miscast him? Why miscast him?
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think the play would have been to have Jacob be the heel against Cody Rhodes and take the belt off him. That would have been the play, but they didn't do that.
I thought when Vince McMahon left that this obsession with Roman Reigns being the face of the company stuff, I was hoping that would go with him. It hasn't, because they're once again doing the Roman Reigns experiments as a babyface, and every time they try it, it falls on its ass. And right now, you might say, "Oh, they're cheering him." Yeah. For now, they're cheering him. Maybe, but the longer he's put into these storylines where he continuously comes off as a douchebag, because that's his natural way. I don't know. Look, I'm not talking about him in real. He could be the nicest guy in the world in real life. I wouldn't know it either way. But as a performer, he comes across as arrogant and a bit of a douchebag. He always did. Always.
I think it's important to preface everything that we're saying. We're talking about the character. We know nothing about the person in real life and what they're like. They could be the best, most charitable people going. We're talking about their characters and their characters only. We know nothing about them privately. And I want to put it out there to you, Tequila. 2 words. Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Alan, any thoughts on Roman Reigns? I think you agree with me and Rebel.
Yeah.
Troy, if you can make it make sense to me. I can't see sense. Backwards storytelling. That's what I think.
I can't see sense at all. Like he said, the man, he's basically gone backwards into his bloodline persona. He's got the Usos on him. The only thing he's lacking is Paul Heyman. He just needs that, and we're back to square one again. Nothing he's doing is heroic. He's telling the crowd to acknowledge him. That's a heel. Like you said, triple teaming Jacob Fatu on Raw. That's a heel thing to do. Yep. Walking into the arena, in a private car, fine. But then asking, "Where's my title?" and then taking off some guy, that's a heel.
Yep.
So I can't disagree with anything you've said. I 100% agree with everything you've said about Roman Reigns in this occasion, because actually everything you said about Roman Reigns prior. The character Roman Reigns is an absolute douchebag. Absolute douchebag. He's so unsympathetic to anything that he's done, or unapologetic. Even is probably a better word. I mean, he's never apologized.
They're both good words. Unsympathetic is a great word that I would use at Roman Reigns. Yeah, 100%. Great word.
Yeah, he's never apologized to his cousins for how he treated them during the whole bloodline thing, ever. Nope. Still, now that he's meant to be a face, he has still never apologized, ever.
Nope.
So I don't know where they're going with this. I mean, if he beats Jacob Fatu at Backlash, not Backlash, Clash in Italy. Sorry,
yeah,
I'm having hallucinations. And the caveat to this is the winner has to acknowledge. The loser has to acknowledge the winner of that match. So what? So Roman beats Fatu, acknowledges him, and then what? Technically, storyline wise, he's meant to be fired, isn't he?
I mean, Roman Reigns was so much of a babyface that he told Adam Priest to fire him. That's what he said after he beat him up 3-on-1. By the way, got to put that in again. 3-on-1. After they ambushed him 3-on-1, he then, as he's going away, told that he could fire him now. And then the heel Jacob Fatu then shows his bravery and resilience after being beaten up. He's like in pain and says, "Roman, I challenge you." I've not seen a film like this that's so backwards. This is meant to be some wrestling fans say this is cinema. If this is cinema, then this is bad cinema. Then because this is making me want to root for the so-called bad guy. So
bad guys have always been more fun.
Look, if I was booking, and of course I'm not, I can see the obvious thing to do is a double turn because the characters are already in the wrong alignments. I'm talking a Bret Hart, Steve Austin double turn, right? That's the most infamous double turn I can think of, and it sent Steve Austin to the stratosphere. That double turn with Bret Hart. If they really want to do it, they won't, because I think Reigns wants to be a babyface. I think he wants the merch sales. He wants to be a babyface, right? That's what I think personally. He wants the money. He wants his cousins with him so they can all get paid a lot, right? It's about money. So I think he wants to be a babyface. He wants to be the face of the company, etc. He's probably got a bit jealous of Cody Rhodes. There's a lot of stories backstage that apparently one of the reasons why the Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes match that was initially planned did not go ahead because neither one wanted to lose to the other. So they changed it. And Punk obviously was willing to put him over. So they changed it. So that says to me that Roman does want to be the babyface. He does want to be. He probably was scared of losing his spot because Cody was the golden boy, was the new kind of golden boy after he beat Roman. And Roman probably was like, you know what, I don't want that to happen. I want to be the face of the company again. But really, this is do you know how popular Jacob Fatu could become if they did the right story? He has got everything you need. He's got this killer menacing thing to him, which is the best part of what they've done over the last couple of weeks. He's been shown to be quite menacing and dangerous.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I was saying before. It goes back to what I was saying about the NWO. And Steve Austin was dangerous. Steve Austin had that element of danger to him as well. So he could be such a big anti-establishment babyface that loads of kids would live vicariously through. And the only way he can do that is if he does not acknowledge Roman Reigns. If he acknowledges Roman Reigns, this was all for nothing.
Oh, exactly, yeah. He comes across as this character that, has fought his way from, the back streets to the slums, spent time in prison, watching why his cousin Roman Reigns has elevated himself to sort of like godlike status. So Roman Reigns is like the evil corporation, and Fatu is the one who needs to overthrow him. And like you said, if he is to all of a sudden, oh yeah, you beat me, okay, I acknowledge you. What was it all for?
He can't. It'll kill
12
him.
years for nothing.
Yeah, it'll kill him. He can't
kill his momentum. Dead.
Yeah, he can't acknowledge him. I don't expect Fatu to win, but I easily expect Roman's not going to lose to him, but he can't acknowledge him afterwards.
Did
Oh,
we?
it
Did we
was just
tell
with the
the
character.
belts on the line though?
I don't think they said. I think I'd assume it's for the belt, it's for the title, but I don't think they've actually confirmed that. I don't think so. If it's not for the title, then maybe you're right, Rebel. If it's not for the belt, then maybe they could have Jacob win. But I don't think Jacob's taking the title, at least not yet. Not for a while. I just see him. I just see such an opportunity to create a. They're so upset. They want to create a new star. Well, they can, but Jacob can't. If they want to create this new star, this new kind of, they could. It all depends what they want Jacob to be. If they want Jacob to just be a dangerous Samoan in the same vein as like a new Umaga, then fine. Keep him heel, even though this storyline suggests to me is not heel. But fine, keep him heel. Keep him just have him be a crazy heel if that's what you want. If you want more for him, and you want to create this kind of anti-hero character, which always these kind of anti-hero characters always do well, especially with young guys, right? Especially with young blokes, right? These kind of anti-hero characters, they've got such an opportunity to. I would do the whole double turn. It's all the ingredients are there, and also it sets up Obafemi later on. If they turn Reigns and the Bloodline back heel, and they do a double turn with Jacob, and Jacob becomes the face, they can stretch it out for a long time, and the end role would be, which is what they were going to do probably anyway. Obafemi is the one who eventually takes the title from Roman Reigns, a heel Roman Reigns, and then Obafemi is the babyface. If they fight as two baby faces, it's going to split the crowd. I think you got to turn Reigns back heel. So then you can do this bloodline stuff. If you must do, I'd rather not do the bloodline at all. But if they must do it, then position them as heels, as they should be. Jacob turns babyface, make him the sympathetic figure because he already is coming across that way anyway. And then you can set up for Obafemi to take the belt from him at WrestleMania next year if you want to drag it out that long. If they could do it sooner if they wanted, but I imagine it'll be WrestleMania next year. And then Femi takes the title off a heel Roman Reigns. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's a fair thing. I've just had a look. Yeah, apparently that Tribal Combat is for the World Championship.
For the belt.
It's for the belt.
Yeah, you're not winning.
Okay. Then yeah, I think what your point of view is correct. There's no way in heck they're going letting Roman drop the belt. So that is where the heck are they going to put Jacob? Is he going to be fired from Raw and then Aldis is going to sign him to SmackDown or some stupid stuff like that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. My fear would be, Rebel, is that they'll have him join the Bloodline. And he will take over the role of the Bruiser. Yeah, but yeah, because it's because if they are doing the whole storyline again, which it looks like they are, the only parts that are missing is the Paul Heyman, who probably won't join unless they turn heel. If they turn heel, I could see him rejoining. But if they're going, but I can see Jacob Fatu is going to take the place of Solo, and I think there's actually a good chance of that happening, and I think that would be disastrous for Jacob Fatu.
Well, it's back years.
Yeah. You can see it though. You can see it though, can you? You can see it.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's a shame. I think it's a waste, but there we are. Anything else from Raw? Because I realise it's gone 8. So anything else from Raw that we took?
The only other thing that comes to mind is obviously the boring Vision and Seth Rollins interactions continuing on. Look, I get we have to have the final say between Breakker and Rollins, but a bit like some of the other stuff, I'm just tired of the recycling. You know, we don't need Finn to be involved with the Judgment Day. We don't need Seth to be still involved with the Vision.
What do you think, Rebel and Alan, this Montez Ford stuff is about? Because I'm a bit surprised, and we've heard rumors for many years that they were really high on Montez Ford. You've heard for rumors for many years they wanted to break up the Street Profits and etc. etc. Montez Ford is going to be this single star. He's going to be the next, the Shawn Michaels, and then the other one's going to be Jannetty. We've heard all this stuff. I have anyway. And with Ford's new physique, which Alan was the first one who noticed with his brand new physique, which suggests to me is that somebody's had a word backstage to him saying, "Hey, look, mate, if you want to be a main event single star, you got to get a better body." this is the kind of this we know this happens. We know exactly that they do this stuff. Are we looking at a Montez Ford singles feud with Rollins, and does the Street Prog is going to break up with Dawkins probably going heel? Could you see Dawkins joining the Vision and Ford or maybe Ford's the one who joins the Vision? Maybe. What do you think?
That's an interesting concept. Never really thought about that.
It looks like this. It looks like they're setting up a Ford Seth Rollins program.
Well, yeah, it was they're setting up something, but remember this is TKO, and they don't really, they drop the ball with a lot of things. I mean, look at Rhea Ripley, no post WrestleMania program. Liv Morgan, no post WrestleMania program.
She's done nothing. She's done absolutely nothing.
Neither one has done anything. So in terms of the Street Profits, I don't know. I mean, they've been absent since when was the last time they were seen? Middle of SmackDown. Oh, sorry, middle of last year on SmackDown in that big tornado tag match against the White Six and DIY, and that was the last time I saw them.
Just bear in mind that there's a baby on the way for one of the Street Profits, and I'd imagine anything that might happen in terms of a program for singles competition would be post all that being sorted out and squared away. But I definitely agree with you that the muscle build is kind of key to maybe saying, okay, I'm ready to do this. But in terms of Dawkins, though, I think that pretty much kills his career because I don't think he's strong enough on his own as a character.
Oh yeah. I mean, he will be the Jannetty. There's no way around it. He will be 100%. He'll be the Jannetty. Yeah. But this is why I'm thinking, if they do the breakup, which one goes heel? I think Ford probably looks like he could be the better of the two as a heel. He's got more charisma than Dawkins to play that kind of role, and I actually could see him fit in the Vision's vibe because the Vision's meant to be, well, kind of newish guys, I suppose. You got Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, Logan Paul, Austin Theory. None of them are particularly veterans, so I could see it. And also, one more thing. We remember the rumors that one of the masked men who was doing the stomps, who was one of them? Do you remember?
Ford.
So maybe,
that's very true.
Yeah, maybe that they always had plans for him to originally be the masked man, and they switched it and said, no, we'll make it be Theory, and then we'll do the Ford turn for the Vision much later on. We'll wait.
You're giving him too much credit.
I know. I just thought it was interesting that he was the guy who did the stomp that 1 week. It was only that one time, I think, but it was him with the hood on. So I don't know. Yeah, I probably am giving him way too much credit. Bless me.
I'm just going to come in with one last point. Can we keep I'm delighted that some of the wrestlers are after getting their kind of moment in the sand with the El Grande Americano stuff, but can we keep that to AAA because it doesn't translate. It doesn't make sense when you have it on two polar opposites in terms of heel / face polarities in different promotions, because wrestling community does watch the other promotions and they know what's going on. But it's got ridiculous now. There's 6 of them, and the fact that we have a Chad Gable returns promo. Don't insult us. Seriously, don't insult us. It's stupid, but I think that the Americano stuff, it just needs to leave mainstream Raw and SmackDown and just stay on AAA.
Do you know that's been going on for over a year, Rebel?
Is it that long already? Jesus.
Yeah, I know Gable was out injured for a large portion of it, but the actual storyline, the actual first time Gable put the masks on and everything, and he started feuding with the Luchadors was over a year ago.
It's true for WrestleMania, wasn't it? Because his first match, his first pay per view was WrestleMania, but he beat Ray Phoenix. It's his debut pay per view. Sorry, PLE.
It was supposed to be kind of the small program that they used as a distraction for Dom Dom, and he's cheating. Kind of built his Eddie Guerrero arc, wasn't it? But then they actually kept it going.
Yep, and Kaiser hasn't been seen. Obviously, Kaiser hasn't been as Kaiser in more or less a year as well. So Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and is it the Creed brothers as well?
Yeah,
so they're all completely changed their personas for how long now? And I mean, I'm not saying that the Creed brothers were lighting up wrestling in the WE, but before it, I'm not saying that this is a massive step back for them. But you can't say that any of them have been enhanced by. Could you maybe say Kaiser? Maybe at a stretch, Kaiser might be in a slightly better position, but
Yeah, I think Kaiser's enjoying his time. Like he's even started learning the language from his wife, and he's started cutting promos in the language, and they've accepted him down in Mexico. So I think he's quite happy and wants to keep the thing going at this stage. To be honest with you,
maybe it seems a waste, but maybe if they do really want to conquer Mexico, which obviously they do, that's why they bought the promotion. Maybe they send him there. Do they send him there full time then, Rebel?
but there's nothing to say that he can't be El Grande in AAA and do the odd Kaiser appearance in Raw and SmackDown. Mick Foley had multiple personas for years.
Do they acknowledge it though? It's whether or not they acknowledge the fact that he.
Well, if they don't acknowledge it, you can still have them both on. Like you could, if they're two separate promotions. Unless they do a crossover. Grande Americano should never actually be on Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah.
And maybe he's quite happy just to have the good life down in Mexico. The weather's probably better down there anyway.
Well, yeah. And if his wife is in that promotion as well, that just kind of sweetens the deal, doesn't it? Maybe he will. Maybe he's going to be there full time. I can see it. I mean, hey, look, if they treat him as a main eventer, he's not going to be a main eventer with this gimmick in the E. But if he can be a main eventer in AAA, then stay in AAA. I wouldn't blame him, I guess.
And Taker knows how to build storyline and build suspense. So, like, he's in good hands down there with Mark in charge.
Yeah. We'll have to see, but I think for Gable's sake, he needs to drop it. I think he needs to drop it. Gable does.
100%. There should only be Ludwig at this stage, and he does his thing down in Mexico, and give him 2 genericals then for his lackeys. It doesn't have to be his current 2.
Yeah, they could just get 2 other guys, couldn't they?
Exactly.
Then again, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, I mean, they might, I don't know, privately, they might think this is a good gig for them because neither one of them, even though they're both very talented guys. I mean, I'm sure we all remember their matches they had on NXT. They were very, very talented guys. But on the main roster, you can't say, I mean, is it better than Butch?
Definitely. That was the car crash. That's all Butch thing.
Well, then he's in a better position then, isn't he? I guess that's the answer. If it's where he is now or playing Butch, if we're saying he's in a better position now, then maybe he's fine with it, rather than going back to being Butch. Right. Well, like I say, we have gone past. It's nearly 8:20. So unless anyone's got anything to say about Saturday night's main event, all I'll say quickly about it is that it really looks. It's the poorest Saturday night main event I think since they brought it back. At least the last one had Cody and Jacob on it. I know there's no marquee match. There's normally at least one marquee match. There's no marquee match this time that I can see on this show. There's not one.
Yeah, very true.
I agree. It's just another house show with a fancy name.
I don't know if I'm even going to bother watching it. I might watch the highlights. I don't think I'm going to bother watching it live. I'll be honest. I'll watch the highlights. I don't think I'm going to watch it live. Unless I'm really bored. Personally.
Yeah, I'll watch it Sunday morning when I wake up.
Past the ads at least, yeah.
Sorry, just a bit of breaking information that's after being posted on wrestling Twitter. Mick Foley will be officially appearing in AEW as a co-host for Double or Nothing. So Mick Foley now has jumped ship.
I mean, look, he publicly severed his ties with the WWE because of Trump. He did that publicly. So I'm not that shocked, really, because he ain't going to go back to WWE whilst they're in bid with Trump. So at least till Trump's presidency comes to an end, I can't see him ever being mentioned on WWE. So I suppose if he wants to stay in wrestling, I mean, where else is he going to go? What does he bring, though, guys? He's not having a match. Sure.
He's a co-host.
Okay.
With Moxley's wife.
Renee.
Yeah.
Great. So
I mean-
you're going to be telling us now it's time for the main event.
Foley. He wasn't a good commentator. To be fair, just because you're a good promo, which Foley was, doesn't mean you're going to become a good interviewer. He wasn't a very good commentator, so mate, we'll have to wait and see. But is this going to make anyone buy the pay per view because Foley's on it? With all due respect to Foley, who was a legend, I'm not saying he wasn't, but. What did AEW get from this? Unless they're gonna try and get him to have a match. And the worrying thing is, guys, it was reported not long ago that he did actually want one more match, which is worrying to me. Do you think maybe that is that why maybe he signed, because he knew the WWE weren't going to probably allow him to have one more match, and the Trump stuff also, and then he's phoned up Tony, and Tony says, "Yeah, mate, we'll give you one last match." Can you see? And oh my god, I even know the opponent. Think about it. Think about Mick Foley's style. Who in AEW fits
Easy.
that like a glove? Come on, Alan.
Darby Allin.
Darby Allin. I had one more name. Darby
Samoa
Allin
Joe.
is a good shout. Moxley.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah.
100% Moxley, with all the tax and all the tax that Moxley and all the blood that Moxley loves to do. You're telling me that match won't happen? If that is 100%.
Samoa Joe kind of does that kind of stuff as well a bit, doesn't he?
What with the thumbtacks?
With kind of the crazy kind of spots and, throwing people around. Like, he'd probably throw Mick off a cage if you wanted him to do it. Do you know? That kind of thing.
I'd rather see Jay versus Foley than Moxley. Do you remember when, though? I don't know if you guys remember this. Dean Ambrose, before he debuted, was meant to feud with Foley. They filmed this angle. Do you remember this? Any of you guys remember this? They filmed an angle in a restaurant with Mick Foley. If you don't believe me, go Google Dean Ambrose, Mick Foley. They recorded a segment that did air, and it was to set up a feud, and it happened in a restaurant, and it's got Dean Ambrose going up to him, kind of calling him out for being this hardcore legend and bringing the hardcore style and stuff like that. They were meant to have a massive feud. It was meant to be the way that Ambrose. That was meant to be how Ambrose was going to debut initially with Mick Foley. Then they canned it. They canned it for whatever reason, and then Ambrose came up with this.
Foley failed medical physicals, and neurologists advised him to never wrestle again.
That was 2012, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't tell me though that those two both, and the reason why they wanted to have that match was because their styles were so similar. So Foley more or less chose him. Foley more or less says, "Yeah, I want to work with then Dean Ambrose because he wrestles the same kind. He's got the same kind of crazy kind of matches that he used to have with Terry Funk." So it would be very funny, if funny is the right word, 14 years later, they finally get to have their match.
Actually, one final bit of information on that. They not only had filmed that particular vignette, but Ambrose was actually doing edgy tweets about Foley and his family.
Yeah.
And there was a message sent to Ambrose for him to stop, but what Foley didn't know is that Ambrose was in the UK, so never got that message. So that he continued kind of building this feud. And it wasn't until they had a backstage meeting that the air was cleared. I'd say Foley thought he was being a bit of a douche, maybe.
Yeah, I think he thought that maybe Ambrose was going a bit far. I think I remember reading that. But I just, because I vaguely remember, like I said, I remember the segment. I don't remember the reasons why it didn't go ahead as much until Rebels just said. But it would be interesting, like I say, 15 years later, Foley gets to have his match with Moxley. And don't tell me it's not going to be filled with blood tacks and barbed wire and blood. We can all in our imagination, we've already just seen the match in our heads. We know exactly the match it would be.
Yeah.
So interesting, Rebel. Interesting to say that about Foley. I guess I'm personally not that interested because Mick Foley's a wreck. He shouldn't be wrestling.
No,
he's a wreck. So, other than perverse reasons like watching a car crash, other than perverse reasons, why would anyone really want to see that?
All I'll say is it wouldn't be beyond AEW. Look what they did with the Big Show when he could barely walk around the ring.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to. Not that I think AEW really cares about overtaking, but I don't think it's going to particularly bring in that many new. I mean, you might get some people out of interest, like I say, who might want to see Foley have his last match, but I don't know. They should be focusing on trying to be different rather than bringing in another very retired guy to have him. I mean, by all means, bring him on to do, as a host, but don't have him wrestle. Don't have him wrestle, man. It's another Ric Flair. It's another person who just can't let it go. I thought Foley was much smarter than someone like Flair, that he could let it go. But these wrestlers, guys, they all seem to struggle with this. They all seem to let it go. They all struggle.
Well, that's very
You
true.
can see it with the commentators, don't you, Alan? The likes of Jerry the King Lawler and Jim Ross, they can't walk away from it.
No.
They're always in these little conference things. I saw a video recently of Jerry Lawler arriving at some conference event, and he looked very frail. Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
He was happy to be there. I mean, he smiled for the fans and stuff like that. He had his trademark jacket on with the crown as well. And Jim Ross was ahead of him, and Jim Ross looks a little worse for wear. Bless him. But yeah, they have to really hang on to what they have. I mean, without their wrestling personalities, what are they?
We've all seen the film The Wrestler, haven't we? And unfortunately, that film is very accurate with a lot of what it portrays. Unfortunately, yeah, it's the way that it is. Yeah.
Can I just drop one quick stat before you end the show?
Okay.
And I want you to tell me whether you think this is viewed as a failure by Netflix. Last week's Raw averaged 2.6 million views.
What do you know that what was their rating on the debut a couple of years back? 2 years ago, isn't it, more or less? 2 years ago? Yeah. Do you remember? So I'm curious to see if their ratings has grown or if it's declined. If so, by how much in the 2 years since they've been there?
Hang on a second, I get it there for you. So their highest views this year was 3.3. Originally,
I've got the number for you. 4.9.
Was that for the first one?
That was for the debut viewership of WWE Raw on Netflix.
So they've lost nearly half their audience then.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite telling, isn't it? Not that shocked, because the product has gone down, especially in the last 18 months. You wonder if Netflix are probably. You wonder if Netflix are secretly regretting maybe signing such a long contract with them, huh?
Well, I think, and it's obviously going to be something for another show, 6 hours of television on 2 flagship shows is too much to fill when you have poor storyline.
No arguments there, man. You're right. If there is. I think isn't SmackDown. I think SmackDown's going back to 2 hours. I think so.
Be, yeah.
But even so, I mean, look, we don't even bother talking about SmackDown. That's how kind of little imprint it has. We all of us rarely mention anything on SmackDown. We might mention the occasional thing if it's something that's a real travesty or something that's embarrassing, like the gingerbread man thing the other week, which was stupid. I mean, that's the imprint that SmackDown has. It just doesn't leave an imprint. None of us care. I'm shocked they've still got Cody on there, considering he's one of their biggest stars, because SmackDown is such a bad show that nobody bothers watching it.
There's always one sacrifice, though, isn't there?
Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay, then. Right. So, again, I'm going to thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back next week, most likely at 7 again. We'll be discussing the fallout from Saturday night's main event and Raw and maybe SmackDown, if any of us bothers watching
Clash
SmackDown.
in Italy.
Huh?
Clash in Italy preview.
And a Clash. That's right. Yeah, it's a Clash in Italy. Yeah. So there's no let up. They've got their Saturday night's main event, and then I forgot. I thought it was 2 weeks. Is it the week after? Not 2 weeks.
Yes, literally the week after. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No rest for the wicked. Right, yeah. So we'll be doing. Yeah, so next week there's going to be a lot to talk about. The fallout of the Saturday night's main event. We'll talk about Raw, and we'll preview the interesting looking for once because they've got 2 or 3 pretty big matches. So this might be have a bit more interest than Backlash did. So we'll discuss that next week. But yeah, I want to say thank you to Alan and Rebel for joining me once again this week. Say goodbye, lads.
Take care, everyone.
And yeah, this is Tequila the Body Ventura. This is Alan the Weasel Heenan and Rebel the Fiend. There you go.
Give me a drink.
Hey, human. Call us all humanoids, Alan, for the road. We are humanoids, aren't we?
Yeah, thanks, humanoids.
Let me in.
They're both doing whatever over. There you go. That's my one. But we'll see you guys next time. Take care and yeah, bye for now. See you later.